Welcome back to ThreadWatch. Have you been keeping up? Can we get an liminal thread going? OCS welcome. Pick related. Why does this make me so nostalgic? Because it's a generic school hallway leading to a typical school doubledoors. The photographer is standing in the wxact spot you would have waiting for the bus or cafeteria. It reminds you of the boring times you just forgot about because they were mundane by being somewhat familiar to the same thing you did see waiting for the bus or the cafeteria in elementary school. That's the whole purpose of liminal spaces. They are places you feel like you've seen before in your childhood. I was looking for the origin of OP's pick a while back, and found this instead. It immediately struck me as belonging here. It's my high school. It's so weird that this pic keeps popping up. Also related, taken from a past thread. These pictures give me a weird feeling, like I left a part of my soul behind, like I have unfinished business. I think I know what it is that makes these so interesting, so hear me out. It's the lighting and the emptiness that makes the best liminal points. The lights need to be half on and half off, and the building needs to be empty. This creates the feeling that you are shutting off the lights and leaving for good. If you've ever moved to a new home, then you know this feeling. You moved all your stuff out so it's empty, and that feeling before you turn off that last light and close the door is the exact feeling that these images invoke. Agreed, the very word, liminal, suggests transition, so the end of something and probably some death innuendo, at least as a metaphor. Love to write about these feelings too. Dude, like, this entire life is a liminal space, we are just waiting to go to the next place after death. Yeah, this unironically what I see in these images is a grasping after a lost and nostalgized potential. They are typical scenes of our childhood, adolescence, etc., completely drained of human contextuality. Just these skeletal forms open to the half-light of dawn or dusk. It's a yearning to return to these places bodiless, as a transparent observer of the passage of time. A craving for rebirth through the squandered emptiness of the past. I've been looking for the origin of photos that make me feel like this my entire life. Holy Susan, thank you boys. Love this thread. How do I live in one of these? Be rich and buy in school. Be a hobo and squat in one. I love this liminal Susan, they make me feel peace. Those places seem like heaven to every empath.
The backrooms. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. I like this thread. Backrooms near you. I don't think I've seen one of these threads before, but it interests me. Are there any places in your area that are backroom-ish, Susan? I'll start with the fantastic swap meet in LV. Especially on slow weekends. Backrooms are the sneed of X. Backrooms is not a place, it is a state of existence, a feeling, a plane that exists outside of our own but holds a familiarity of the monotony of our daily lives. It's the little things, the yellow dinge on the wall, the humming of fluorescent tubes above your head, it's the ticking of a clock, tick-tock, tick-tock as your dreams are slowly pissed down the drain of standing urinal in a vacant office building. It's the manifestation of the inevitability and futility of your Susan-T life in drudgingly monotone architecture and functional design. Stop Susaning with backrooms. It can end in Susan misery. Room_001. A starting room that you or somebody else can expect to find in the backrooms. Not everybody starts here, in fact some people exit here. You don't really get in, it's more of you realizing you're there. You'll go in to take care of some kind of red tape Susan or whatever, and your reasons for being there will just start to feel really thin and non-existent. When other notions of the outside world lose their validity along with what led you there, you've essentially reached the backrooms. It's when your life prior to going in there takes backstage to those buzzing lights and that monotonous yellow. You're not going to find the portal. The pictures you see in this and other threads aren't actually pictures of the backrooms, they're photographs of places in the real world that bear a resemblance to the backroom. Backrooms are as real as the real world, but you can't bring back any physical evidence because anything you bring with you will be restored to its initial state upon your return. The system doesn't send you there by accident, it sends you there on purpose because it recognizes that something has gone wrong and it doesn't know where else to put you. When the no-clip happens, it saves a backup copy of your body and everything you took with you, and when you return it restores your physical state from that backup. The only thing you can take back with you is your memories, because those are not stored within the simulation. Those are stored within your consciousness, which exists outside of the simulation's control. If you want to see proof of this, wear a cheap wristwatch when you no-clip. The watch will continue to function as usual while you're in the back room, but if and when you return to our plane, the time on the watch will be what it was when you initially no-clipped, even though all the clocks in the real world have advanced as normal. This is because upon your return the watch was restored to its initial state. Obviously you cannot use a cell phone for this experiment because its clock will re-sync with the cellular network immediately after you return. Small difference, but they aren't pictures, they are actually frames from a live-streamed video, hence why they are usually a little blurry or pixelated. You can't really take a picture of the backrooms and share it, seeing as going is a one-way trip. Most people on the forums dedicated to the backrooms just assumed it would always be impossible to get a picture. But a while ago someone figured out a way. This guy decided he was going to use his smartphone to live-stream himself no-clipping. This wasn't the first no-clip to be live-streamed, but usually the camera was always being held by someone else or set up on a tripod. Instead he was going to hold the phone in his hand when he no-clipped. He posted a link to the stream on the forums and the Discord. Pretty much as expected, the stream blacks out and ends at the exact moment he no-clips. But as a backup he was also using an app that lets you take a video and real-time upload it to a Dropbox service. It was just a backup in case the stream crashed before he made the jump, but the stream worked fine so nobody really looked at the Dropbox video. But about 2 weeks later someone on the forums decided to download the backup just out of curiosity. The video was almost exactly the same, except it had one extra frame at the end of the video where the picture was mostly yellow. Nobody really believed it at first, but the discovery got enough attention that the next few people who decided to make the jump chose to do the same thing. When the same thing happened again, people started figuring out that the phones were still for some reason broadcasting for about 0.3 seconds after the jumper no-clipped. So people started figuring out the best ways to do lower latency video streaming, and then we started getting 2 or 3 frames after the no-clip of yellow with some distinguishable features of the backrooms. But OP's picture is the one that is considered to be first picture that captured the backrooms in full clarity. The backrooms are a maze-like labyrinth of prefabricated rooms used to load reality. Those that are quite psychotic or on the verge of seeing through reality often end up clipping out of the matrix and can end up in the backrooms. Individuals often find the rooms have a feel like that of rooms in the late 60s and 70s, though the lights are on, there are no switches. Many people simply starve to death trying to find an escape, resorting to trying to eat the dryboard or carpet of the structures. Individuals attempt to find moisture in the walls and build a dwelling within the old 70s empty rooms, building carpet beds and trying to find respite from the ever-bright green fluorescent lights in order to sleep. In order to escape the back rooms, you must become fully convinced that this is where you're meant to be and feel as if you're moving through your own house or workspace. Only then will your home or old dwelling materialize around you and you will be out of the backroom matrix. Individuals who have escaped the backrooms often feel like they are still in it, and are permanently psychologically damaged from the understanding their real life is inherently false. Many individuals often end up Susaning themselves. Does anyone know where the original Backrooms post is? Unsettling images post, disquieting images that just feel off. What is that? If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. Meme response: unironically spookier than most creepypasta I've read.
Backroom, that's fitting, maybe too accurate. I call it the real state. There's a lot for me to explain on the subject, as I was for many years trying to figure out its mystery. First of all, real state is what it points to be representing, but cannot be truly made clear to anyone, unless you have actually been in it. Secondly, no matter how hard you try to reach it, you'll never find a way to do it. It's spontaneous, can happen to anyone, but generally speaking, if you've been in once, you will end up going back eventually. There are also a set of rules. These are not written, nor do I claim them to be a factual representation of real state's true reality, but what during the years I've managed to see as axioms that may hold some answers to how real state works I can point and explain, bit by bit. 1. Never try to escape. 2. Be always calm, don't show any signs of anxiety. 3. Do not search for others, do not ask for anyone. 4. Stay as close to your entrance as possible. 5. Never directly stare at any source of light. 6. Should you lose your senses, do anything to regain them, even if it means cutting off a part of your body. 7. Always check if the time is what you remember it to be. 8. Do not touch a wall that seems darker than the one next to it. 9. Should you come across another human being, do not make any contact, and move away from each other as fast as possible. 10. Count seconds, and after every 500 remember who you are and where you came from. 11. Is the most important, sit down and do not look at the sounds when you hear them. TBC. Cont. I'm going to explain these points one by one. 1. This is crucial to understand, that thinking about how to escape makes your mind go haywire, panic, and eventually you lose yourself in it, running around and away from your entry point. Losing your senses will eventually extend onto your track and perception of time itself, which is why you should always check on it. Count seconds, and always try to remember who you are. If everything fails, go to extremes. You don't need a knife to hurt yourself. Bash head first into a wall if you must, and you must regain your senses. I learned this the hard way, but getting yourself calm, point 2, is important to thinking straight and crucial to really getting out. You're not going to run out of this. How many kilometers you'd run, you'll never escape it this way. It's your emotions keeping the rooms extending, at least that's one of my assumptions. TBC. Cont. Another one has to do with point 3 and 9. Do not search for others, do not interact with them should you bump into anyone. You do not know who they are, how they react, and how long they've been there. This is why you count seconds. If you lose track of time, you lose track of reality and then your emotions, which is what can get you into a nasty situation and even can mean your death. Most of the times others don't know it, wandering aimlessly further and further away from their entry point. They are lost to time, because time in real state doesn't follow our space-time continuum rules. It relies on you to keep it meaningful. Think of it as if the time had no concept in real state and only the beings that perceive it can understand and think it. But other than you thinking seconds, it is closely to non-existent there. Closely, because there are multitude beings whom still perceive it in their minds. Coming across one another shows signs that time only means a variable in a form of a living being. And these living beings can be anything. I call it real state, because it strips down the reality of its dimensions that we humans coherently understand to be a physical world. There's no real space that you can measure there. Sure, you could measure the rooms, calculate its density, but then if you check the atmosphere there wouldn't be any oxygen or any other particle in it. Breathe inconsciously, and try to comprehend what just happened. And then remember, be calm. There's only the timeless perception stretching endlessly before you, that extends onto any other being that happens to be within. Any, meaning not only human. I call them plainly others. TBC. Cont. The first time I saw one was also the first time I was in real state. I was already panicking, already wandered too far, and lost track of time. I lost my senses seeing otherworldly creature that I can only describe as a crystalline form of ant the size of a giraffe. I turned around and ran, screaming. I didn't think about escaping from there and then, just from the creature, which is why I think I ended up being let go from the real state. This had led me to one conclusion that much later came as this: sit down, do not look at whatever came in. As far as you're concerned, there are only intelligent beings in there, seeing how I haven't come across any insect or large animal, which as you'd think would greatly outnumber the total amount of humans, right? The other beings, whatever they might be, are of no concern to us. We cannot converse, we cannot understand each other or help one another. There's no point in agitating ourselves further in that situation. TBC. Cont. Points 5 and 8 might come as weird after coming to understand the real state as an unchangeable constant, but it is also precisely why these points come out as somewhat exotic, but logic phenomena. First of the light source. Real state has no real source of light. I presume the light is there because your perception demands it. Perhaps if you were blind your mind would create a more fitting environment, but for me it seems to be in an unchaining bright orange light, not like the first picture, but again, different perceptions. So, if the light is always the same, whenever you go, what about pulsating light that seems to suddenly appear behind you, or show up in another room? I like to call these white holes, as in the proposed reversals of black holes. One of my assumptions to the reality behind the backroom is that it's a tunnel that we somehow end up in, coherent enough to observe and touch, but not act upon. Perhaps the other beings use it consciously, which is why they never seem to be interested in us. I was after all never harmed by them. But here comes the dark wall. It completely obliterates the previous concept, because dark walls are the actual exit entrance points and not the white hole that it would suggest to be. Why then stay away from them if those are entries, exits? For the same reason you should stick close to your own entry point. Imagine a space not distorted by time, a seemingly unending one, with your own private entrance. How many more like these are there? And each leading to other points in space-time, or something completely by us not understood. This is also why I wrote that the backroom is a fitting name. Perhaps it's the back of our consciousness. Point is clear here, however. Stay clear of the dark walls, but your own entry point. TBC. Con. There's also a discrepancy here, as to the entry point. Sometimes you can get ejected from the room, completely randomly. It can happen right away, or a month or a year in. I got myself be ejected while running away from the other being. But I also got myself be ejected while being completely calm. This would conclude my observations on what the real state backroom is, but I still wait till the day I again enter it. Each time I come more prepared than last, and each time I understand more and more. All of these points might not however hold true for everyone. Remember, it's all a matter of one's perception. Perhaps it is a space-time bent in on itself, maybe our space is one that such a thing is entwined with, or maybe it is a metaphysical world made real by our consciousness. The reason though why I call it a real state, is because of the feeling you can experience only there. The constraints of time are not present, and once you're calm and reasonable in an unreasonable state you've found yourself in, you begin to see how simple world really is. Space, time and its continuity are only perceptions. Matter doesn't mind time, only space, but cannot act upon it. Everything is enacted upon matter. Time is out of reach to us, but omnipresent. Time and matter are both not present in real state. Those are gone, only your perception is what remains. I can only imagine what will happen when the true understanding of that state will reach me. Thanks for watching, see you on the boards.